Joe, do you support Measure J? Why? Why not?
I do support Measure J. In my view, while it may not be the ideal way to protect ag land and encourage density and development closer to the core of Davis, it is one way to do that. It's clearly a way that's supported by the citizens of Davis. And I think that there are more opportunities for Davis to look at growth close in to our downtown core, which would be good economically. And we can do that, and then there'll be a very high hurdle when something has to go for a Measure J vote outside of the city limits of Davis.
Okay. As you know, the need for housing everywhere is fairly significant, even in this housing depression that's going on, or recession.
That's right.
But in Davis particularly, we still need affordable housing. I have a couple questions. One is, how would you define affordable housing in Davis? And many cities in Yolo County are finding that increased development also increases the need of community sustainability, their infrastructure, their roads, public safety, fire protection. And do you have a way that you could guarantee that any...
Davis has a reputation as a green community. The city council and part of the stewards of that reputation and the future actions. How do you see the city council helping Davis deal with the effects of things like climate change and peak oil, while also dealing with any aging budget limitations?
Right. So, thank you. We have an incredible opportunity here in Davis. If you think about the greening of Davis and the challenges that we've got to preserve our planet, it's somewhere around 55% of the greenhouse gases produced in Davis are from our transportation sector. At the same time, we are the most bike-friendly city in America by many accounts, and bikes are zero carbon transportation. So I think we need to really redouble our efforts as a community to promote biking. And for example, I was involved in the founding of Davis Bicycles. This is the group in town that looked to increase utility biking. More biking to work, more biking to school, more biking for shopping, more biking downtown. And I'm going to remain committed to that. That's one of my strongest interests. I'm particularly worried that we maybe have somewhere around 33% or fewer of our students in the Davis schools, even with our flat community and our pro-biking infrastructure in town, that actually bike to school. And I think that needs to change. And so with Davis Bicycles, I've been part of what we call our Safe Routes to Schools program. But I have to say, Safe Routes to Schools in Davis are being run by, well-meaning volunteers and parents, and the investment, at least financially, in staff time by both the city and the school district has not been there. And so I would like to work, if I'm on the city council, and I'd like to think that we could find $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 at least to hire a couple of UC Davis students to be interns to promote biking as a cool and safe way to get to school. So I would look there, but also there's a tremendous opportunity in addition to biking in what's called energy efficiency retrofits for our homes, and looking to the building side of carbon production and efficiencies there. The AB 1811 or PACE program for the state of California is a way to finance energy efficiency improvements at your home using your property tax bill that can bring immediate savings to people from utility costs right away. So I would look for Davis to move aggressively in implementing AB 1811 here. And the federal government also has home retrofit programs that are starting to receive large amounts of funding. So I think both bikes and home energy retrofits are ways that here in Davis, with our culture and our environmental commitment, we can make some real differences.
Future development would also pay for these important needs. So those two questions.
Right. So listen, first part is, I guess, do I support affordable housing and how would I define it? I certainly do support affordable housing. One of the ways I've been thinking about affordable housing the most is how we make sure that we're able to provide housing for those who work in Davis. And I'm particularly concerned both environmentally and from a social standpoint about people who are living outside of the community and then have to commute into the community and be able to work. So, whether it's support staff at the university or city employees or police or firefighters who want to be able to live in town, I think we should be looking at affordability. So if I defined affordability, I know there are different matrices for doing this, but I would try to look at kind of the people who are working in Davis and how we could provide housing for them. That's part of how I think about it. I'm particularly interested in co-ops as a way of providing affordable housing in Davis. I think that we have a great tradition of co-ops in Davis, and we ought to look to expand that. There's a bit of controversy around how co-ops have been done in Davis, but I would like us to, move beyond that, however it's appropriate to move beyond that, and then to kind of get at the business of thinking about how we extend that. It's an economic structure that allows people to share in the equity, and it has a lower barrier of entry than private housing, but also promotes community when people come together and live together. So if we look at some of the co-ops in town in housing, for example, a 3-bedroom co-op based unit in Davis now is about $1,100, and a commercial unit of the same make is usually about $1,800. That's $700 a month that those people are able to either save to be able to afford to live there, or to even put into a down payment so that at one point they might be able to buy equity themselves. So I'd look at that. Second part of the question, remind me.
With all the, when there's future development,
Right.
and all the infrastructure, sustainability, public safety, all of those things, how, and then you have the future development, do you have any ideas of how to pay for that
Right.
as the development happens?
Right. So, there may be, more refined ideas on this, but certainly, new housing that we have in our community has to pay for itself. I mean, we can't burden existing residents with the infrastructure costs of new development. And that provides quite a challenge. I mean, especially for affordable housing, the break point is often thought to be maybe around $450,000 in housing value. So if we build certain housing in Davis and it's high value housing or high cost housing, that certainly helps pay for city services. But if it's below 450, then it's probably not paying for itself. So I think you've got to look at probably federal funding and other funding mechanisms to kind of come in and support the housing. There are some fairly large programs starting to brew at the federal level that have to do with sustainable communities, to look at slightly higher density housing that would be low cost transit, closer into the core types of things. So maybe we can look at some funding options like that. But I'm very cognizant of not burdening kind of existing citizens and infrastructure with new infrastructure costs of development. That would have to be part of it.
Okay.